Okay, answering your questions, I used to be raised Catholic and I was Christian for a while after that, left Catholicism at the end of college. Regarding hell and loved ones, I never thought any of my loved ones would not make it to heaven simply because they were reasonably decent people and I didn't think God was that strict. So that wasn't an issue. Second, regarding omniscience and testing, I always felt the tests were, when they were done, weren't done for God's information, but for your own. He knew the results of the test, like the whole life was a test. And it was teaching you how you'd react. Supposedly, I guess you wouldn't believe God if He said you would have done this in this circumstance for some strange reason. So it wasn't so much for His information, which supposedly He already knew, yours. Third, the Garden of Eden. I thought everything in the Old Testament was metaphorical or related to tribal cultures, teaching about a super being. Because clearly the God of the Old Testament is not at all like the God of the New Testament. It wasn't until I was an atheist much later I realized that this is just a hodgepodge of religious nonsense stuck together in trying to come to a cohesive book when it isn't at all. The question number 4 regarding accepting Jesus or actions leading to heaven. This was a real sticking point, and part of the reason I ended up becoming an atheist is that I knew that some parts of the New Testament said you had to accept Jesus regardless of action. I knew that in other cases it said you would be judged by your actions. So it was internally inconsistent. And I really felt in my heart that people who are good people deserve to be rewarded, and people who accepted Jesus and were abominable didn't deserve anything. So I had this ended up being part of the turning point for me. So I struggled with this, didn't get a good answer, but I ultimately felt that actions meant more than anything else. How could you say you accepted Jesus and be a criminal kind of thing? Your actions said more than your words. And then number 5 about hell's infinite punishment. Even when I was a Christian and even a born-again Christian for a while, I didn't believe that people were punished eternally. There was a possibility for people who were criminally insane, like Adolf Hitler or Stalin. But even that, eternal punishment would mean that God made a mistake in the beginning because He knew how this would return out. So I always assumed that at some point, even people who were punished for what they did in life would be forgiven and be able to go to heaven.